Hello, it's time for some more base ascension. I found a worthy opponent, and so we're about to start here. Down the middle here, the Void Initiate always is going to catch my attention, but maybe the smart move is to go for the Shadow Star. I would normally bypass the Arha Initiate, but with the Shadow Star out there, I already know there's a card that I want, so I'm fine revealing other cards I want, as I've got a good shot at getting Shadow Star. But in this case, the Ascetic shows up, and the deck cycling and draw it gives me to help me play my Void Initiate more is awesome for my deck. Here I'd normally pick up a Shadow Star, but I decide that maybe the smart move, it's not a move I ever play normally, but since I'm recording a game, I feel like I need to try to figure out the smart thing. I go with the Demon Slayer. And my thinking there is that one attack isn't going to do a whole lot, and I'm going to end up seeing the 3 attack from that Demon Slayer a lot. So that Ascetic is coming in handy, and my opponent uses his Arha Templar. Here I go. Well, I'm going to have a thin deck, and so we go with another Demon Slayer. Again, that's not a way I'd normally go. I see things like the Grand Design, and I think that getting those Mechanic Constructs is usually more enticing. But this is a bit different game than I usually go with. And I wasn't paying attention. I haven't been paying too much attention to what they've been picking up, but because you always have to consider banishing powerful cards from the middle. So there I pick up a Mystic just to strengthen my purchasing power for the future. Now here's where those 2 Slayers come in handy, and my deck is just churning along. Void Initiate doing its job, worth every penny I paid for it. I'm in a pretty good situation here. I feel comfortable with everything going on, and if monsters start showing up, I can fight them. And I've got plenty of runes in my deck to take advantage of good things to purchase. Not to mention the ability to draw those cards. Now I'm building towards those Mechanic Constructs. There's nothing maybe overly interesting in this game, except for going after those early Demon Slayers. They're definitely a good card. I'm not saying I never purchase them, but I'm often thinking of getting a few Mystics early just to make sure I get good cards in my deck early. So that's where it's a bit abnormal for my playing style. Here I can't remember what I was thinking, but I'm considering Mistake or whatever that guy is, and I decided I wanted to, Corrosive Widow, and I wanted to just destroy one of his constructs more than I needed to banish a card. So he gets Dartha, or she. My opponent gets Dartha, which is always a sad sight to see, but it's not something I necessarily care too much about. Now you surely noticed that I bypassed the Hedron Link device. And my thinking there was that I had the Watchmaker's Altar and Grand Design coming up, and I wanted to squeeze some value out of them. So I took a risk that my opponent wasn't going to banish it or purchase it himself. And so I was able to play and pick it up, and now I've got a Hedron Cannon waiting for me. I haven't been paying enough attention to my opponent's deck, and so I really don't know what they need, but I kind of know what I don't care too much about, so that's what I got rid of. Though usually I spend time getting rid of what my opponent needs. And here I'll purchase the Burrower Mark II first, assuming there's a chance I'll draw it. And if I draw it, that'll kind of help me along and give me a good shot of getting Hedron Cannon, which I do. But then we're also at 13 points left, so given where the game is, there's not a whole lot of chance I actually get to use the cannon in this game. I don't know that there's a whole lot left interesting to say about this game. I would say that the Void Initiate was certainly an all-star in this game, and just the luck of getting the Ascetic of the Lidless Eye, have that show up right before my second turn, was definitely a nice turn of events that I never end up needing to pick up the Shadow Star. But this game is closing out, and I do get the victory here. But I don't know that there's much my opponent could have done differently. Maybe I didn't pay attention enough to what my opponent was doing, but again, really deciding which construct to get rid of here isn't a big deal, but I decided to keep all my Mechanic constructs, and really that might have been the wrong idea, as I might have squeezed out a point more by picking up this Wind Tyrant, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, it's always good to squeeze whatever point you can most of the time, since often you're in a close game and you need them all, but this didn't really feel like the case. We're running at the same number of points, and I've got a tableau full of constructs, while my opponent only has one. So, not a whole lot to talk about here in the end. I appreciate you sticking around this long, and if you find this kind of content interesting and would like more, feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll have more coming your way.